Today, I'm sharing my Mexican style marinade for some Pollo Asado. I'll guarantee you that this Pollo Asado will not disappoint. Now the key to this cook will be the marinade. I'll have a full recipe in the description, so let's get started. Let's start off with 4 ounces of orange juice, 4 ounces of lemon juice, 4 ounces of bitter orange, 4 ounces of pineapple juice. Freshly squeezed juice is always best, but you could save a little bit of time and effort and get your juices pre-squeezed. Let's drop in 3 cloves of garlic, 1 clove, 2 allspice corns, 1 bay leaf, and half a small onion. Now let's talk about the color of this dish. Pollo Asado gets its awesome color from 2 key ingredients, achiote and saffron. For the achiote, I have some around and I'm dropping in a small chunk. Now before I forget, let's also drop in 3 tablespoons of cooking oil. I'm using avocado oil, but any cooking oil would work. The saffron, however, sometimes I don't have it around, so I'm substituting saffron for these 3 Goya packets that have saffron. I will also add that Goya has these packets with the achiote. So if you don't have achiote or saffron, then these packets will get the color you need. All you really need them is for color. The use of these rubs can be a little bit controversial. It's mainly because many people are against these types of rubs because they have MSG and other fake ingredients for color. I personally don't mind the MSG these packets contain, but that's a whole new topic that maybe one day I'll discuss. If you have access to saffron or achiote, use them instead of these packets. Be sure to drop in a little of your favorite chicken seasoning. I'm doing 1 tablespoon of my chicken rub. Now as you can see in the ingredient list, it contains pepper, cumin, paprika, turmeric, Mexican oregano. Now the cumin and pepper oregano are key. The paprika and turmeric, however, are just there for color. Now if you don't use my rub, be sure to use 1 teaspoon of each and add it to your blender. Now be sure to salt to taste. Start off with about 4 tablespoons of kosher salt. A bit more if you didn't use my rub or the Goya packets. Once we get our achiote and saffron situation figured out, let's give it a good blend. Now do give your marinade a quick taste to check for saltiness before adding into your chicken. It should have about the saltiness level of seawater. This marinade will go great on chicken pieces or halves, but today I'm adding it to a whole chicken. It's gonna save me a little time from having to cut it up, and I wanted to cook it on the rotisserie. Let's drop in the marinade. I'm using a Ziploc bag and put it in the fridge overnight. Be advised that this marinade contains acidic juice. Leaving it longer than 24 hours might break down the meat a little bit too much, so use caution about how much you leave it in there. The next day, I'm going to prep the grill for a rotisserie cook. Now this is the standard indirect cook where you bank your coals off to one side. I happen to be using the slow and sear, but you can certainly use a Weber baskets or some fire bricks. Let's light up a chimney of charcoal, and once lit, I'll add them to the unlit coals. Going to add in the rotisserie ring. Let's cover and let it come up to temperature. I'm hoping to read temperatures between 325 and 350. While this grill gets up to temperature, I'm going to prep the chicken for a rotisserie cook. This chicken has been marinating overnight. Let's remove and truss the chicken. There are many ways to truss it, but here's how I learned how to do it. First, be sure to measure out some butcher's twine. I'm measuring out about a wingspan, which looks something like this. Now this should be enough, but if your wingspan isn't as big, give it a couple of extra inches or a foot like so before cutting. Next, place your twine under its waist like so. Come across the legs and secure at the bottom of its belly or rib cage. Tie yourself a knot to make yourself an anchor, and then wrap the twine around each of the legs to keep them in place. Once you do this, you'll want to secure both of them to the tailbone. Run the twine underneath the thighs and then under the chicken's armpits. Get the twine around the top of the breast and use this as another anchor point to help you secure their wings. You'll want the wings stretched out a bit, with the tips secured between the breast and the chicken's knee. I think that's his knee. The wings get tucked away nicely this way to expose the chicken breast as much as possible, so it gets even browning. Tie at the bottom of the breast again with a few knots and cut off the excess twine. Now, why is trussing important? Well, it keeps the wings and legs anchored in so they aren't flapping around dangling as the rotisserie spins. Now that the chicken is trussed, let's place in our spit rod and secure our forks on both sides. This will further secure the chicken in place. Make sure the chicken is centered on the spit rod and also be sure the chicken is properly balanced. Adjust the angle of the weight to help counterbalance the heavier part of the chicken. Our grill is up to temperature, so let's place in our motor, and then let's place in our chicken on the rotisserie. The chicken should be nice and centered, so let's start spinning. Let's cover and start cooking. Now this chicken was cooked with a rotisserie, but remember this marinade works fine on pieces of chicken on the grill. If you go this route and you're not using rotisserie, be sure you cook directly over the coals to get that great charcoal flavor Pollo Asado is known for. It's best to use a small amount of coals. This way you aren't burning the outside and while leaving the inside of the chicken raw. And be sure to flip it constantly. I also like covering it between the flips to prevent any flare-ups. Now if the fire is too hot and the chicken gets the color before it finishes cooking completely, you can also place it over on the indirect side, cover, and then let it come up to a safe eating temperature of 165 degrees. For legs and thighs, you can go a little higher to maybe 175 to 180 to properly render out all the fat. 2 hours later, this chicken is done. Probe it to make sure it's a safe eating temperature. Let's remove, slice away, and give it a taste. Cheers. This chicken is cooked to perfection, and this marinade is outstanding. A little drumstick action. Cheers. It's the best bite right there. There's just no better way than rotisserie chicken. Now, if you don't have a rotisserie, do not stress. You could cook this directly on the grill. You could spatchcock it. You could quarter it directly on the grill. Still a fantastic recipe. But the rotisserie, can't deny it produces some great chicken. But if you're looking for other ways or different recipes for chicken, be sure to check out this playlist over here. I got all my chicken cooks all collected into one playlist, so check it out.